to the RunRx podcast, where we talk about all things running. As many runners know, it's 90% mental. So join Coach Valerie and Coach Caroline as we go through the mental side of running. Okay, welcome back to the RunRx podcast. I'm Coach Caroline, and this is Coach Valerie. And the last couple of episodes, I keep calling myself Coach Caroline, and you guys are probably wondering, what is she a coach of? Well, I have become a certified life coach, and part of why we did this was because Valerie and I have been working together for a number of years. And if you're a runner, if you've been running for any length of time, you've heard the analogy that running is 90% mental, right? And I think Valerie can attest to this. So we decided to get together because this is what we talk about all the time. And on the last episode, we talked about perception. Valerie, talk to me about the perception that I need to work on as learning a new movement.
Well, I would say there's two. And the first is to be aware. The first step with perception or awareness is kind of like, let's go like this. When people go to, like, say, a dance club or to learn a dance, and most people are like totally self-conscious, like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to dance, or I don't want to do that dance. So in the beginning of the lesson, they're only thinking about, oh my gosh, I'm uncomfortable, or this is awkward, right? So they have not yet released into the movement. And then all of a sudden they start doing a few steps and they're like, oh, wait a minute, I can do this step. And then all of a sudden they release and let go of that self-conscious part and start to focus only on how does this movement feel. This is what happens with running, because if I'm coming into running as a runner, however long I've run, or I'm not even a runner, but I don't really know what is running, then the beginning, you have to go through a little bit first of self-conscious. You're doing these drills, or someone's watching me run, whether it's, through a video or on Zoom. And so I always tell people the first thing is you have to let go of that self-awareness. And then the second part is I'm developing perception of not just what does running feel like, it's what does falling feel like. And that is such a challenge. We've spent our whole lives not falling. And so here I'm telling you to fall. And in the beginning, you're looking at me like, what is she even saying? And I tell people all the time, I tried to learn by myself. I'm a coach. And in the beginning, there wasn't a certification. I bought the book. I bought the video. I practiced and I practiced and I practiced. And when I finally got to work with Dr. Romanoff, he said to me, why are you not falling? You're missing out on the whole part of running. And again, awareness, perception. I had a misperception of what the movement felt like. Now, to be fair, he was like, wow, you can do the drills really well, which is why still to this day, I'm telling you, like I teach very well. And to have someone like myself, who, by the way, when you're a coach or you're a trainer and you feel very competent in your abilities and you get coached by another coach and they're like, wait a minute, you're missing out on this whole thing. It's humbling. You have to be willing a little bit to let go of ego. And he said, it's not that your movement is wrong. Your movement is very good. You're simply not falling, and falling is acceleration. So if you're feeling like you're running in place, again, these are perceptions that I can help you with now. But in the beginning, how would you know to know what that felt like?
Okay, so the first part of the perception that we were talking about was that self-consciousness. And why do you think that is? Why do you think people are so self-conscious of having you watch them run? Because we've had dozens of people come into the membership, and it takes them weeks, sometimes months, before they'll send you a video.
Well, and let's just say from the get-go, we are so proud of anyone that comes through our program. I know that's a challenge. Think about runners. Like, when do you see yourself run? You take a picture at the end of your run with your running group, or you get your photos, in your races that I might or might not order. Otherwise, otherwise, the thought of someone watching me do something is oh my gosh, I'm like putting myself out there. Again, it goes back to that mindset. Like, she's going to see all these things I do wrong, or she's going to, you know what I mean?
Right. So you're not going to judge me. If I'm sending you in a video, this isn't about judging me or putting me on a scale of 1 to 10. You're a 4 and you need to work yourself up to a 7. Right? That's not what we do.
Correct.
So I want to talk about that mindset of this is just, it's like going to the doctor or a dentist, right? And having them say, okay, so you need to floss a little bit more here. You need to brush a little bit longer. You don't come out of that thinking, oh, I'm the worst tooth person in the world. Right?
Well, I mean, it's
my dentist didn't say I did a good job.
I'm firing him.
Yeah.
Well, but also and on the flip end, let's go this way. Let's say I am an injured runner and I go to my physical therapist or my sports doctor, whoever I go to. 99.9% of the times, they do not say to the person, let me watch you run. You come in and they say, you're like, my knee hurts, my hip hurts, whatever hurts. They show you these stretches to do that, by the way, everyone's doing. Everyone stretches their calf. Everyone stretches their whatever. You see, it looks very normal. You don't feel weird or out of place. The second someone wants you to do something where it makes you self-aware, it makes you self-aware. So more people are likely have never been filmed. They think it's awkward and they don't know what they're looking for. Right. I think that's a big thing we have to all get over.
Right.
By the way, let me go back to.
And so
I was just going to say real quick that people on the other flip end, that people that do weightlifting, they film themselves constantly.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. So if you're actually a person that starts to want to see how you move and you start to think, again, perception, if I can see my movement to help myself correct my movement, it's such a positive experience.
Right. So that's what I was going to bring up. So when we finally get people to say, hey, seriously, send in a gait analysis, that's private, right? They upload it to you, you get it, you give it back to them privately through email. That's not something that's put out it's private for that person to do. Now we have a Facebook group that people are able to post their skills if they want, but they don't have to do that either, right? They can do that.
No, it's all
private. Right. But then we also have the Zoom. So explain the Zoom calls and how people are in the Zoom calls. I know it's always so funny when we first started this, getting people set up right with Zooms. It was so funny a year ago before the pandemic. We could not get people to understand how to work Zoom. And now it's so much easier, isn't it? To have them interact with you. So when it takes you, I've been on the Zooms. It takes us about 4 or 5 minutes before people start just realizing that it's just like being in the middle of a class. It's like we're all standing in a gym. We just happen to be in our own houses. And go ahead.
No, you're right. I think that's the Zoom is a very eye-opening experience to what does it feel like to get coached. And I think a lot of runners have not ever had a coach, or they've had a coach that does things like you're going to run 4 miles today and check in, or I stand on the track and I blow a whistle and I hold the watch. So much of coaching that we're familiar with is way more like the outcome of the coaching. I would like you to run 4 miles. Coach, I ran 4 miles. High five. So we're really used to this feeling of not really someone watching us move. So and again, now let's say you were going to a fitness class or a boot camp and they would demonstrate the movements and then here you are doing the movements and they might shout out some cues, but most of what you're going to hear is, hey, you guys, you're doing great. Way to go. 10 more. So again, that's the majority of coaching. So now you come on to Valerie's, you come into RunRx, you get on a Zoom, and all of a sudden this person's saying to you, I want to see, when you come into the Zoom, guys, this is the best part. I get to see you. I want to see your pose. I want to see your fall. I want to see your pull. I want to make sure you're developing correct perception and awareness of your movement. And then I can see things like if you're holding tension in your foot or I can correct your shoulders or behind your hips. These are all the things that we can correct in place that you can take on to movement. So in the beginning, you may feel like, she's just correcting me. And in the beginning, of course I am, because I'm helping you to feel what it feels like to be, not just to be corrected, but to make sure you're doing the movement correctly. So there is a lot of coaching. And then I address everybody. The fun part is you watch me and then you do what I do. And then I get to watch you and help you correct if you need the correction. And I'm telling you, everyone, maybe the first time they come in for the first 5 minutes, they're a little bit like shell shock because it's a weird sensation to have someone just telling me what to do. And then immediately, but I will say this, generally after the first correction and they can feel the benefit in the movement, then you see the shift.
Yeah.
You see the mind open and the body open and relax. And then they realize we're all on the same journey. We're all just trying to make sure that when we go out for our run, we are not going to hurt ourselves. And it really just sets the mood.
Okay. So that brings back, just to kind of wrap it up. If I'm coming in, how long does it take me to like start getting self-aware or this awareness and getting over the awkwardness? And, how long is this going to take me? We make it 3 months, but why do we make it 3 months?
Well, for that exact reason, the struggle we have in initially getting someone to, send in their gait analysis, to really commit to working on their movement. And I'll say this as a backstory. I used to teach these things through clinics where people would come, and they would either come for 1 hour or up to 16 hours. I taught anywhere from 1 hour to full certification, 16 hours. You barely have a chance to feel anything. And this is the best part, by the way, your mind learns it immediately. Once you realize like, oh, I should be, standing in a nice balanced pose and just fall forward and pull. It's very simple. The doing part, not so much. You need that muscle memory. You need that repetitive movement pattern so that it becomes your natural movement pattern. So what we have found is, over this time, we have found that on average, most people take about that 3 month time to start feeling like, okay, I can really tell when I'm doing this correctly.
Right. And so into that, guys, that was one of the things. It really took about 3 to 4 weeks before people started saying, okay, I felt the fall for a little bit, right? I felt the fall for a little bit. And then it took almost 6 to 8 weeks before they could maintain it for, say, a mile, up to 3 miles, let's say.
Right.
But we added the extra month because we really want to get you that unconscious competence, right?
Right.
Just like now, brushing your teeth. I think you gave this. I'm gonna back this up real quick because you gave this as a fantastic example. Once, this was like a year ago, we were talking about when you teach a child to brush their teeth, you have to remind them every day till like they're 13 or even 16 years old. Right. It's like they get up every morning. Did you brush your teeth? Did you brush your teeth? Did you brush your teeth? And you said eventually, after 16 years of it, they finally. You don't have to remind them anymore. But if you don't keep reminding them, they don't think about it. They don't think about brushing their teeth. They don't think about what it's going to. So that's what we're trying to do here is that you have to get used to that until it becomes something that's just, what is it? They say 5,000 repetitions of something, you can become a master. 5,000 repetitions, guys, is what, years.
But also to think they need to be 5,000 of the correct repetition.
And the correct repetition, right? To who was it? Vince Lombardi said, "Practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect."
Correct. And so that's the thing that I like to remind runners. It's 1,500 steps a mile. There's a lot of opportunities there to, unfortunately, and by the way, real quick with perception, most of us ignore our body parts until they yell at us. Right?
Oh, yeah. That's
so
a good
it's
point.
like, I'm not thinking of doing extra work for my feet and ankles because my feet and ankles don't hurt yet. However, the minute my calf hurts or whatever hurts, then I think, oh, I need to stretch it or whatever. So we're trying to help you feel just that more overall connection, even with your body. So you're in a state of constant prevention.
Thank you for joining us on the RunRx podcast. If you'd like to know more, join us at www.runrx.fit. And if you have additional questions that you'd like answered on the podcast, email us at support@runrx.fit.